Greetings and welcome to week 1 of EDU 625 Professional Development and the Learning Community. My name is Dr. John Thomsen and I am your instructor for this wonderful course. Thanks for being here. In week 1, Learning in Adulthood and the Interactive Professional Development Program. The essential questions for this week: what are key principles of adult learning theories? We'll be starting to investigate some of these theories and setting the groundwork for future learning and a future assignment in week 2 regarding adult learning theories. What is the difference between learning theory, adult learning theory, and organizational learning theory? In this course, we'll focus on global learning theory, what it means for adults to engage in meaningful learning, as well as how do you as a leader work with others to help your organization learn forward. 30 essential question: what are the essential components of the interactive model of program planning and why are they important? In your first reading in Caffarella chapters 1 through 3, you're going to learn about the interactive model of program planning, and that will be the foundation for much of the work in this particular course. And finally, how can stakeholder power dynamics affect the planning process and outcomes of professional development program? When you do program planning within an organization, there's many people involved, and there's certain people that hold certain power, and in making sure that planners have a clear understanding of the stakeholder power dynamics and how that can impact the planning as well as the program development itself. So for week 1 class, these are the things we'll be asking you to accomplish. First two things, you're doing the first one right now. You're reviewing week 1 PowerPoint. Hope you're enjoying it. It's important to review that course syllabi again to make sure you're very clear on what's expected of you, expectations of the course. And if there are any questions, please feel free to contact me. I have posted graduate student expectations, which I also shared in the course introduction PowerPoint. Please review those again. If you stay true to those expectations and buy into those, chances are you're going to do really, really well in this course, and you're going to learn a lot and hopefully enjoy it. We're going to ask you to read Caffarella sections, the introduction section, as well as chapter 1 through 3. Again, it's important that you read this information, reflect on it before you start doing any of the work. All the work is related to the readings. When you're completing assignments, it's expected that you make connections between those readings and cite them appropriately, so we can see you're making connections between what the work we're asking you to do and the literature and the research. The second reading from Dufour and Fullen, we're simply going to ask you to read the introduction. The discussion forum questions are based upon that reading. Not a lot of pages to read in Dufour and Fullen yet. It's very, I guess I would call it dense reading. There's a lot of information in there in a short amount of pages. I typically, when I come across literature like that, I have to read and reread it because there is a lot there. We're going to ask you to look at the PDF entitled Analytical Discussion Forum Guidelines. If you follow those guidelines and really keep those in mind prior to engaging in this discussion forum, you will do well. Then you're going to complete the online forum questions. There's some timelines on that, so click on that button and it'll clearly explain when you have to respond to the first question. You'll be responding to classmates as well. There's a timeline on that, and there's a second question with some responses there. Each of those is worth 10 points. Posted some information, more information about learning theory, The Nature of Intelligence by Mike Dickman and Nancy Stanford Blair. Those are two local people at another local university that have done a lot of research on the brain and how program planners and planners of professional development can use that information to better guide the learning experience for all those involved. I've also supplied a link, information from Peter Senge He is a guru in organizational learning and organizational capacity building. Not only are we looking at learning theory here, adult learning theory here, but also organizational learning theory. And Peter Senge shares some very useful information. Want you to read and reflect upon that information. And then we would like you to read and preview the reflection paper PDF and complete that paper. 20.7% of your grade. I can't stress this enough. It's important for you to locate that rubric and review it, because we want you to set up your reflection paper, sections of that paper, based upon the left column of the rubric criteria. So everyone's paper should probably be organized the same, with those paper sections as identified on the left column, and then you bring in your information under those headings. Those students that set their papers up like that and follow that rubric criteria have a tendency to do really well. So we want to share a couple learning theories with you, and the first one is an adult learning theory from Knoll, and it's a classical one, and Knoll came up with the term andragogy, and this is from 1968. Andragogy, quite simply, is the art and science of helping adults learn. And there's a few assumptions under Knoll's model. First of all, and second of all, start with one. As a person matures, their self-concept moves from a dependent personality to that of a self-directed human being. And clearly, if you think about the first early days of learning in elementary school to learning through adulthood, certainly adults are more self-directed. That seems to make sense. Number two, an adult accumulates a growing reservoir of experience, which is a rich resource for learning. Again, adults drawing on prior experiencing what has worked, what has not worked, how can we learn from the things that has not worked in the past, and so we don't repeat those mistakes and build upon those things that has worked. Number three, adult readiness to learn is based upon social role. So based upon the hierarchy or where people fit into society and their social role really informs that adult readiness to learn. As people mature, there's a shift from future application to immediate application, more problem-centered and subject-centered. So as you work through school, sometimes as a student you're learning things and you wonder, when am I ever going to use this? Well, with adults, what we want to do is make sure what they're learning is directly applicable to either their job, their profession, or their next steps in life. A few other ideas. The most potent motivations are internal rather than external. I can tell you, as a former high school math teacher, when my students were highly motivated, I certainly appeared to be more effective. And so with adults, when adults are internally motivated, internally driven, and really interested in next steps of learning, that really helps with the whole learning process. 6 and 7, adults need to know why they need to learn something. The why is really important. The why is important for all who learn. If people understand why something is important, why something is valuable, why we're taking time to learn it, and how it might be best used, that's going to help in the learning process, and that's certainly true for adults. The adultness classroom climate is really, really important, being attentive to physical layout and needs, as well as the psychologically important aspects of learning. Adults should feel accepted, respected, and supported. Really, all learners should feel that way. But according to Knoll, really important that adults feel accepted, respected, and supported. There needs to be mutual respect between teachers and students, kind of joint inquirers. Certainly, as the teacher of this course, I'm going to attempt to facilitate and really expecting to partner with you as we move through the next 8 weeks. Adult students self-direct all aspects of their learning. Again, as adults enrolled in this course, it's important that you're kind of following what we have set up for you, but you're self-directing this and you're moving this forward and you're motivated. And certainly Knoll thought this was important in his classical theory of adult learning. This is one of my favorites. McCluskey's theory of margin, 1963, has been with us for some time. And being a former math teacher, I dig this. So adulthood is a time of growth, change, and integration in which one constantly seeks balance between the amount of energy needed and that amount available. So a brief narrative introduction. But basically, each and every one of us has L, which is the load of life, the personal load that I have in my life and all the things going on personally and professionally, and all the responsibilities and duties and things that I do with my free time, all make up the load of life. And on the other side of that, that's the power of life. That's my ability to influence and control and balance all those things that are going on. So you have the load and you have power. And each of one has that. And sometimes the load is high and the power is low, and vice versa. It ebbs and flows. But over time, people have load and power. P helps you deal with the L. So the more power that you have in your life, or the more influence that you have in your life, it helps you deal with the load that you have. That load can fluctuate as well as that power, but that's that ratio we're looking for the theory of margin. And again, it is a ratio, L over P. And if you have various levels of load with various levels of power, that will influence your ability at any point in time to grow, change, and learn. The greater your power or the smaller your load, the more you can participate in adult learning. And it kind of makes sense. If you have a lot of things going on in your life and you don't have a lot of influence over it, you don't have a lot of time and energy to devote to deep learning, reflection, and change. So I want you to think about this a little bit. Again, this rings true to me because it's pretty simple, and I've seen it. I've worked with a lot of adults where they have a lot of things going on in their life and they don't have the ability to influence or control it. They don't have a lot of ability to learn, reflect, and change and grow over time. Fair or not, that's not what this theory is about. That's just kind of what's going on with this theory. And again, it's an ongoing analysis of ratios, L over P, load, and power. So we shared with you andragogy, and now we're taking a look at theory of margin. Caffarella is one of the authors. In Caffarella's previous work, Caffarella looked at 7 assumptions for program planning, which is kind of group learning. Focus should be on learning and change. Planners should recognize the non-sequential nature of the planning process, and we'll get into more of that as you read chapters 1 through 3. It's really important for planners to understand and discern local context as well as the negotiations and the power within that local context. Program planners have to attend to pre-planning as well as last-minute changes throughout the whole process. Really important for planners to honor and take into account diversity and cultural differences. Understand your local context, your population, and the dynamics within that organization. Program planners need to accept that other planners work differently and in different ways. The best program planners don't do this in isolation. They collaborate and partner with people to make sure there's good buy-in and accept that people work differently, think differently, but can harmonize all that and bring it together. And understand that program planners are learners. Every time we put together an adult learning process in where I work or throughout my career, we take some time afterwards and say, hey, what worked well? What do we want to try to do again? And what do we need to do differently because it didn't work well? We are learners. We fail forward. We learn forward. So, just going back, this is the list of 11 things that we're going to want you to accomplish for week 1. I would encourage you to start on this right away. You're not going to be able to accomplish it all in one night, but if you pace yourself appropriately, you're going to be able to engage in deep learning. Let me know if I can help you at any point in time. And again, all these resources are posted online, and I'm available if you need me based on the contact number on the syllabus. So I hope you enjoy your week 1 of learning, and I do consider it a journey, and look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.